They burned oil, but he burned the world. And if you think that's just a sentence, then you've never stood in front of flames so high they erased everything you thought you were. Most men only see the fire as destruction, an accident, a cruel twist of fate that robs them of comfort. They never understand that fire is also a test, that it doesn't come to take from you but to reveal you. Because the truth is this: the fire doesn't lie. It shows you whether you are just another man collapsing into smoke, or whether you are the rare one who refuses to break, who uses the burn to become something untouchable. They had power, they had money, they had the oil, the fuel, the empire, the applause of the crowd, and still they wasted it. They wasted their inheritance, their opportunities, their discipline. They burned their oil to shine for a moment, to look important under lights that would fade, to distract themselves from the weakness inside. They used their fire to cover fear, not to face it. They thought they had time. They thought the world owed them something. They thought survival would always be cheap. And then there was him. He didn't burn oil. He didn't waste it. He didn't chase what they chased. He didn't kneel to their rituals of distraction. Instead, he built his own. He set himself on fire, not his possessions. He burned his comfort. He burned his excuses. He burned his softness until there was nothing left but steel. He understood that destruction of the old self was the only doorway to creation of the new. He wasn't waiting for the world to hand him permission. He took it. Most people will never understand. Because most people scream when the flames rise. They panic, they run, they beg for someone else to save them. He didn't scream. He didn't run. He stood. He let the fire strip him bare. And in that silence, he became what they could never be. They laughed at him in the beginning. They mocked his silence. They thought his cold rituals were weak. He stopped showing up at their parties. He stopped chasing their attention. He stopped wasting energy on their approval. They called him strange, insane, and finished. They said no man could stand against the entire world. But they didn't understand the world he was building in the shadows. While they were burning oil for applause, he was burning himself for transformation. Every night, every morning, every cold hour, he sacrificed sleep, comfort, cheap distractions. He didn't need them. He built rituals. He built silence. He built cold structures inside his own chest until he became something they could no longer touch. He wasn't a man repeating the cycle of noise. He was a man breaking it. The fire was never his enemy. It was his weapon. Because fire consumes, but it also purifies. They thought they could destroy him with rejection, betrayal, and failure. They thought the smoke would suffocate him. But every spark they threw only made him colder, harder, stronger. Every insult became fuel. Every loss became training. Every scar became armor. They thought they were punishing him, but they were building him. One day they finally realized the truth. He was no longer playing their game. He was no longer competing in their market. He was no longer begging for their recognition. He had stepped outside their system. They burned oil, but he burned the world. What does that mean? It means he refused to be small. It means he refused to live in the cage they accepted. It means he chose to let go of everything ordinary so he could become something untouchable. The world hated him for it. The world wanted him invisible. The world wanted him scrolling and silent and weak. But he chose war, not against them, against himself. And that war made him untouchable. Most men will never get here. Most men are addicted to oil, addicted to wasting energy for nothing, addicted to the dopamine of distraction, addicted to staying soft. They will scroll until they rot, laugh until they collapse, hide until they vanish. They will keep burning oil but never themselves. That's why they stay forgettable. That's why history never speaks their names. But not him. He chose the burn. He built rules. He built silence. He built fire inside his chest and let it consume everything weak. His mornings were no longer negotiable. His nights were no longer wasted. His discipline was not for sale. He traded softness for strength, approval for solitude, noise for silence. He knew that the man who burns himself willingly cannot be destroyed by anyone else. When you see him now, you don't recognize him. The man you thought you knew is gone. His eyes are colder. His presence is heavier. His silence was louder. He doesn't need to prove anything to you anymore. You tried to bury him, but he buried the old world instead. And when the smoke cleared, he was still standing, alone but not broken, untouchable. This is the cost of discipline. This is the price of silence. This is the law of cold. You don't get to keep both comfort and greatness. You don't get to live soft and rise strong. You don't get to waste energy and expect to become untouchable. The weak will always burn oil. The strong will always burn themselves, and the rare few will burn the world. He didn't care if they clapped. He didn't care if they laughed. He didn't care if they stood against him, because he knew something they didn't. He knew the cold truth. You only become unbreakable when you burn everything breakable. He burned fear. He burned hesitation. He burned the chains they wrapped around him. And what was left? A man who could not be stopped. One day you'll stand where he stood, alone, surrounded by smoke. The world will laugh at you. The world will whisper that you are finished, and you will have a choice. Burn like them for nothing, or burn like him for everything, because the fire will come, whether you are ready or not. The only question is, will it consume you, or will you consume the world? This is not motivation. This is not inspiration. This is reality. Men break because they burn the wrong fuel. They chase comfort. They waste oil. They hide behind excuses. They collapse when the test comes. But the ones who rise, the ones who turn into legends, are different. They don't waste energy. They don't waste time. They don't waste themselves. They burn strategically. They burn daily. They burn until the old self is ashes. And when the world sees them again, the world no longer recognizes them. He was not born stronger. He was not born luckier. He was not chosen. He was built. And fire was the tool. Every insult, every rejection, every failure, he took it. He turned it into fuel. He didn't cry. He didn't complain. He didn't collapse. He let it burn inside him until it became power. That is why the world fears him now. They can't touch him. They can't stop him. They can't even understand him, because they wasted their oil. But he burned the world. If you feel broken, you're not. If you feel small, you're not. If you feel like the world is against you, good. Because it is, and it always will be. But you don't need their approval. You don't need their oil. You don't need their applause. You need fire. You need silence. You need discipline to stand when no one else will. And if you think you can't, remember this. He also thought he couldn't once, until the day he chose to burn. He stood. And because he stood, the world had to move. That's the secret. That's the truth. That's the path. They burned oil, but he burned the world. And now the question is left to you. Will you waste what you've been given? Or will you let it burn until only the strongest version of you survives?